Okay, and so it is now 9:54 p.m. and I am back with the journal. I'm going to read what it says in here, but I'm going to skip over last names, and instead of place names, I'm just going to say the first letter of what the place is. Okay. And so let's begin. I'm going to pop my back, I'm sorry. Okay, no, I'm going to pop that way. Anyhow. Okay. Get situated. Terrible background here. My hair looks a mess, whatever. Okay. So, February 4th, 2000. And, okay, wait. There are some of these words that I can't read because because of the handwriting, but I'm going to try my best. So here goes. February 4th, 2000. Hope to retrace the places I have lived and where. This says her name. I lived in S from birth until I was 18 and a half. At that time, I went to N several times to stay with my sister Louise, while her husband was at sea. I worked at OV at Rose's 10-cent store for several months. Then I went back to S, I should say, and stayed until I went to N, where I worked at the shipyard in the war bond office. I lived with my sister Catherine. I can't read what this says. Something. I think it might be several of it, or just like I can't read it. Something. People boarded with her, Marianne, and two cousins, Mac and Sybil. I had met my future husband, Edward, while I was with Louise in Inn. He was on the ship with my brother-in-law, James. He came home with James one day while I was working at Rose's, and James brought him to the store. Then they went on home. I walked home and someone splashed muddy water all over me. Of course I took a bath as soon as I read the letter I had from my boyfriend in S. His name was Shag. I'm guessing that's a nickname. Ed was helping James hang a clothesline just outside the bathroom. Later that evening, he said it sounded like a hog in a mud hole. He, Ed, sure was a smart aleck. Before he left next morning, I made toast for him, and I burned it. He ate it anyway, and then said, "If you ever want a place like this, just whistle." Louise and James lived in Merrimack Park. I had a letter from Ed before I met James. I don't know if that's a last name or a thing. It says before I met James' idea. I don't know if the James idea is a person or if it was James's idea, so I'm going to say that one. I did not answer it, and he wrote several more after he met me. Before I answered or wrote to him, at this point, before it made James' idea, I did not answer it, and he wrote several more times after he met me before I answered or wrote to him. Okay. At this point, I am 78 years of age and trying to make a list of the places we lived and when. I went back to S for a while, then the war started. In December 7th, or I think that's a 7, 1941, I seen Ed 2 or 3 times before that time. I had seen Ed 2 or 3 times before that time. He was sassy and kept writing to me. I still have the letters. I thought it was just a sailor's line, in quotations. After the war started, I think this is, Ed was at Louise's house at that time. It was on a Sunday morning, and we were very upset. I can't read that. Most ships, I guess that says upset. Most ships called their crew to go to Gord? I don't know what that says. Sorry, I can't read some of these. And man their battle stations. The warp. I think it says the Wasp. The Wasp. Ed and James' ship took another load of planes to Malta. The planes were used to protect Malta. They were called Spitfires, and that did the trick. Ed got a Maltese Cross medal in later years. I was in and working the shipyard in the war bond department. The Wasp came back from its second trip to Malta, and Ed stopped at a jewelry store on the way to see me that night or late afternoon. He said, "Let's go for a walk," and that's when he put the ring on my finger and proposed properly, in quotations. I think that is when I first thought he really did love me. 3 days later, we went to SM, state name, and got married, and he was truly a good husband, and was very patient with me. And then on the next page it says, it looks like she started the same thing, but I guess pages got stuck together, and so it might have been about the Spitfires were called Spitfires and evidently saved Malta. So there's a story of so her name was Pauline, of Pauline and Edward. Sorry, my nose is just, that's really touching there. Me scratching my nose. Hold on a second. I am going to see what I can find about the Wasp. It would help if I used the letter I in World War II instead of 2 1s. That doesn't work. Excuse me. Okay, we're gonna switch over to, I'm going to go and I will be back with a search for the Wasp.